right, you're live. So today is the last day of the Push Pull Legs Challenge. And of course, it's legs. Which means we have squats, reverse lunges, calf raises, side lunges. Goblet squats, single deadlifts. 6 exercises for the end. All right. Let's get it cracking. Again, I'm still dealing with my shoulder, so I'm not gonna put the weight on my shoulder. I'm just gonna hold it and squat that way. So that's just how it's gonna be done. Tomorrow I'm starting the Olympian and I'm starting my 30-day cut. To kind of smooth out some of the fat that I've gained while growing muscle. And it's not that much, but it's a little bit. Just in the back area. Bigger. Just cut just a little bit, lose a little bit of fat, that should be good. It's not too hard. But I'm going to be lifting heavy so that I can maintain the muscle mass that I did create. Therefore, burning even more fat. So, yeah. That's what it is. Okay. How do we watch today? Let's watch some Cowboy Combos. Best of R/Fat Logic Part 3.
Okay, y'all, welcome to Cowboy Convos. Today we are doing a bit of that logic from Reddit. And if you don't know what that is, it is a Reddit page where people post like silly things they see online that pertain to fat acceptance or health at every size that are pretty ridiculous. So they post it for giggles. And it's a pretty fun page. And if you don't know that's growing Reddit, which I understand, I'm doing it for you. So I'm going to read off some Reddit posts and react to them. And I'm doing this unscripted, blind reaction, so it should be fun. Let's get to the first post. This first post looks like it's a screenshot from Tumblr, and it says, quote, "When I say I'm a hater at heart, I don't mean it in a, ew, I hate her makeup and style kind of way. I mean it in a, if I find out that that other person's on a diet, I'll eat a full course hot meal in front of them while meticulously wafting the scents in their direction and making absolutely sure they know how fucking good it is." Kind of way. End quote. Okay, so not only do you have to go out of your way to find out if somebody is what you classify as fatphobic, you then have to purposefully get a meal and then go sit near them, this person you don't like, and eat in front of them in order to spite them because they're on a diet and you believe that they're fatphobic. Are they fat phobic because on a diet, or are they fat phobic and on a diet? I would like to know. I mean, I feel like it would be better to just eat your meal uh, and enjoy it. Also, this kind of implies that like the person on the diet isn't enjoying their meal. Like, I'm assuming they're like at lunch, right? This is a setting in my brain. They're like in a cafeteria, right? And there's like this girl over there, and she's having her meal, and she's on a diet. And then this other girl goes over, um, and has like, I don't know, a pizza, okay? And is eating it in front of her. It's like, this is so good. You have no idea how tasty this is. That's so weird. And that girl who's on a diet could definitely be enjoying her meal a lot. So I don't know when we are assuming she's not enjoying her meal
Right.
just because she's on a diet.
Two down, two
Either
down.
way, though, I don't understand caring this much about a stranger. I'm assuming a stranger who's on a diet, especially if you don't like them anyways. Like, why are you putting this much effort into it? Just let them have their diet. It really isn't impacting you at all. This next post is, I think, a screenshot from Reddit, from a different like subreddit, and it says, "quote I hope this is an okay place to write this. My dog is having problems with diarrhea, and based on blood tests, has an intestinal disease like IBS. Her vet wants her to do a 12-week trial on an RX diet. During this time, she can have nothing else. No treats whatsoever, and no other food. Not even her heartworm medication. This is majorly bringing up childhood diet issues for me, and is really feeling emotionally difficult. She is really food motivated, and is used to getting a small treat after she potties. I feel like she will feel sad and confused not to get treats anymore. I don't like controlling other beings' food intake to this extent. I know it probably sound crazy, but has anyone else had this experience? End quote. Well, I know one thing. You do sound crazy. Because I had an experience. My dog, this type of dog, she has a lot of intestinal issues. She has a very sensitive tummy. She eats very special food that's expensive as hell, and we go to the vet a lot. All right. To make that about yourself, I can't imagine. I think it's clear that this person needs therapy because to hear your dog is ill and needs a special diet, that has to be pretty strict. And to go, oh, well, this is just like when I went on a diet as a child and it was traumatizing. That is some mental gymnastics. And I feel like predicting that this dog's reaction to not getting her treats anymore is that she'll be sad and confused kind of shows how the person themselves perceives food, how like important it is to them, like those special little treats. Because dogs are usually distracted pretty easily. Half the time my dogs don't even remember that they're promised a treat. And which is nice because I tend to forget that I promised them treats. But they don't seem to remember, so it works out. Also, the part where it says, "I don't like controlling other people's food intake to this extent." What did you think was going to happen when you had a pet? That's You're literally in control entirely of their intake. That's how it works. They are animals that aren't in the wild. They're under your care. They will eat anything and everything most of the time if you let them. Like, there's a reason why you do control their food because they don't know how to do it themselves. You are quite literally the sole provider of what goes into that animal's body. If you aren't ready for that
Alright, 3 down.
responsibility, don't get a pet.
One to go.
If doing that will cause emotional distress, don't get a pet. Dogs don't intuitively eat, like they don't understand what this person was expecting when getting a pet. This seems like something that needs to be talked to with like a professional and not posted online, but that's just my opinion. This post is a screenshot of the tweet, and there's a picture of random chairs. Go ahead and look at the screen if you can, so you can see these chairs. And the tweet says, quote, "Dear thin people, I know I've already said this, but it needs to be said again. These chairs are a crime against anyone with wide hips. Not only can our ample asses not fit back to the rounded part, aka we can't rest our backs right, but the bars also jut our hips. Stop buying them. End quote. Now, I will be damned if somebody walks into my house and tells me to not buy the chairs that I have. Like, this is such a non problem. If your butt can't fit into the average chair, that is not the fault of the chair. It's not the fault of the person who designed the chair. It's not the fault of the person who purchased the chair. It is purely a you problem. And if you have the common issue of going to people's homes and their chair is not fitting you, bring your own chair. It's your problem. It's your job to come up with a solution. It's not anybody else's. People can buy whatever chair they desire, and they do not have to think about you in the process of purchasing that chair unless the chair is specifically for you. All right? All right. I feel like this shouldn't have to be said. I think this just shows how entitled the behavior of this community can be, where it's expected to accommodate every single person in every single way that they possibly can. Then people don't have to buy certain chairs in order to suit you. Again,
All right,
if
2
you
minute
have a
rest and
problem
then answer
with
the next
chairs,
slide,
most
please.
chairs, then have your own chair. Keep it in your car. Bring it with you to places because this isn't anybody else's problem but your own. This post is also a screenshot of the tweet, and the tweet is coming from a doctor. Yep, and it says, quote, "In an acute visit, a patient seemingly out of nowhere said, 'I know my weight is probably affecting this too.' I paused. Actually, I don't think this problem has anything to do with weight, so I wasn't going to bring it up. But I also don't see weight as an indicator of health." End quote. Now, the issue here isn't the doctor saying that the problem that this person is dealing with isn't due to weight. Obviously, I don't know the context. That maybe it may not be, whatever. The problem is the last part when the doctor says, "But I don't see weight as an indicator of health." This is concerning coming from somebody who is an MD because weight is most definitely one of the indicators of health. Obviously, it's not the indicator, but it is a part of figuring out if you're healthy or not. For instance, it would be shocking to me if this doctor saw a patient like, let's say, Eugenia Cooney to go to one extreme and then Tammy Slayton to go to the next extreme. Would this doctor really believe that their weight, where it is not an indicator of any health issue? And that is not a doctor I would want to go see, just in my opinion. If I am severely underweight or severely overweight due to excess fat, I would like my doctor to be able to point that out and say, here is the risk to your body. Here's what this is doing. Here's what this excess fat is doing. Or here's what this lack of fat is doing. And this is how we can help fix it. I'd rather that happen than it be just ignored. And it seems that doctors following this whole like fat acceptance thing and saying that weight has absolutely nothing to do with an indicator of health, it's just going to end up putting people in danger. It's just ignoring the problem in order to help people not feel bad, I guess. Which I do think that there should be a stigma taken off of discussing weight in general, and that nobody should be made to feel like embarrassed, right? Nobody should be made to feel embarrassed when talking about their weight at the doctor, and that's something that should definitely be worked on. But we shouldn't be completely removing the discussion of weight from the equation, right? It's an important part of health. It's an important part of making sure you maintain your health or get to a healthy place. So when I see tweets like this with over 400,000 views, it's a bit concerning. All right, so this post is a screenshot from Instagram, and it's kind of a lot. So bear with me. Maybe go look at the screen if you are able to. So it's kind of like a conversation. All right, and the first person is the thin friends to each other. And the thin friends to each other are saying, quote, "I'm trying to avoid eating processed foods because I've noticed it makes me feel bloated and
One
sluggish."
down, 3 to go.
And then another thin person says, quote, "I just feel so much better since I've cut out sugar, end quote. And then the me, so the person posting this Instagram, has the SpongeBob meme of SpongeBob getting out of his chair, and it says, I, I'm a head out, as in they're leaving the conversation. And then the caption for this entire Instagram post is, quote, your hatred of processed food is a vehicle for your hatred of fat poor people, end quote. And this has almost 10,000 likes. I hope most of us can see how ridiculous this is. So, oh god, it's not a verified account too, I just noticed that. Oh, that's messy. Alright, so basically the issue this person is having about this conversation is that the negative talk around processed food, about how it makes somebody feel, and how they have benefited from cutting it out, is inherently anti-fat poor people. Now, as someone who has experience being fat, who has experienced being broke, no, it's not. It's not. It's not anti any of that. And what's interesting about this post is that I'm sure this is somebody who posted this, who was someone who is all about the listening to your body, not restricting, and being able to listen to your bodily reactions and cues and do whatever you need to based off of that. It seems that that's what people want you to do until your body is telling you, hey, I don't like this bag of Doritos, or hey, I don't like this ice cream, or hey, I don't like this soda. When it comes to that, that's suddenly not okay, that's suddenly diet culture, that's suddenly problematic. I'm someone who can't have a whole bunch of ultra processed foods, as in like I can't go get like a bag of cookies and just eat them all, or a bag of chips and just eat them all and not face any consequences on my body. I'm pretty sensitive to that.
Use
Same with
restroom.
fast food. I haven't gotten fast food in a very long time. The extent of fast food I'll ever get is maybe a fried Wendy's, like once every few months, right? And it's not because I have a hatred for fat poor people. It's because it literally makes my body feel horrible, and I will get sick. And acknowledging that taking away those foods makes me feel better isn't doing anybody any harm. And to suggest it is, it's just your own insecurity. Like, sorry, not sorry. As somebody discussing cutting out certain types of foods because it makes their body physically feel better, if that is a conversation that makes you feel bad about yourself, that's an insecurity issue, not an issue on their part, not an issue with the conversation, not an issue with the topic itself. That's all you. So yeah, you can make like SpongeBob and head out, but let's not act like it's the other person's problem when it's your problem. So here we have an infographic and it says, what is a fat tax? Quote, in pop culture and mainstream politics, fat tax has been informally defined as a tax on foods or drinks considered unhealthy and whose consumption is believed to be linked to rising rates of obesity. And I think you should note that the word obesity has been starred out. I'm assuming because this person believes it is an offensive term. All right. Taxation policies, like the examples given, were first implemented in the US in 1925. The fat tax, for this definition, is comparable to the taxation of cigarettes and alcohol. End quote. It did mention examples given, but those are like there's like 9 other slides to this talking about all the ways the government like hates fat people, and I wasn't gonna read off 9 slides of basically the same information. So this one slide is good enough. So fat tax. Basically the issue here is putting a tax on things like soda or other junk foods. And this is something that I know happens in a few countries. If you live in a country that has this tax, tell us about it. I think it's something that they tried to do in America, in New York City. I remember it being something that happened under Obama's presidency. He tried to, like soda in New York City cost more or something. Um, Again, I am blind reacting, so I don't have, so I'm not like researching this. So if you know about the economy or about taxation and all of that stuff, please let us know in the comments. If New York is still doing this, I think it flopped. I think it ended up backtracking. I don't think it worked out because I think people got mad, which that's an app for you. But I don't see this as a problem. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea to tax unhealthy foods like sodas and chips or candy. They aren't necessities, right? Like, they are just, they're treats. Like, we don't need them. And I think the point of taxing these products is to control the overconsumption of them. So, like taxing cigarettes and alcohol more than other products helps control the overconsumption of them because you can't really buy a lot if um, it costs more to purchase. And most people don't just have an expendable income to buy as much as whatever they want, you know? And I like that this post is pretty much confirming the connection between processed food and obesity, and also confirming the connection between obesity and it being a health issue, as they're comfortable comparing it to taxing cigarettes and alcohol, which we know very well are unhealthy things to consume. I'm all for discussing not having a tax or even like not buying things like menstruation products, like tampons and pads, things that people actually need and aren't like luxuries. But this, the fat tax, making soda cost more, isn't really a human rights issue. You know, it's not something that is going to limit the life of anybody else. All right, so this next one is a Tumblr post, screenshot of the Tumblr post. And the title of the post is, quote, being fat and being gay are both the same type of struggle. Here are some of the reasons. Now, you might be thinking, where could this be going? Because I'm wondering the same. Let's get into why being gay and being fat are the same type of struggle. Can't wait to read this as a man who is dating a man. So, the reasons are 1. Heavy discrimination against you when dating. 2. Being openly fat and being openly gay can lead to trauma and abuse. 3. Both have to hide true feelings, like enjoying being fat or liking being gay. 4. Nobody has the choice if they're gay. Same with being fat. They are both genetic. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get through this. 5. Finding people who accept you as you is hard. 6. Gay pride and fat pride are both looked down on by society. 7. Both can go through wanting to do so hard because society discourages being fat and gay. Alright, you know what's going through my head right now? Sitting down as a child, as like a 13-year-old, right? That's when revelations tend to happen. Uh, and going, Mom, Dad, I need you to sit down. I have some news. I don't know how you'll react to it, but I think I died. And the parents are just like, yeah, Johnny, we fucking know. We are too. So I think most people listening to this have enough common sense to understand why being gay and being fat are not the same thing. Yet, this is something that is constantly compared, not just being gay, it's compared to being trans or being black or being literally anything else. Things like cancer control, right? Things that can make you a minority group. Being fat is instantly compared to that. And the thing that's really frustrating is that I am all for having a conversation about how fat people can be treated shittily by society, right? Like, I can get behind that conversation. Um, I can't get behind comparing it to years and years, not just years, thousands of years, right, of discrimination. Okay, years of gay people literally being offed for being gay, for just existing, and it still happens to this day. Like it's still an issue today. Obviously, it's better in other places than you know others. America is doing a lot better. England is doing a lot better. But go to some other countries, and you can't step foot in that place if you're gay. And if you are gay and step foot in that place, you better not show it. Better not have any indication of it. There aren't any places where you go if you're fat that you will be hate crimed, you will be arrested, you will be offed. That's not a reality to you. It's not the same. Let's not act like it's the same. Being bullied for being fat isn't okay. I'm not gonna excuse it. It's not good. But saying that it's the same thing as the type of violence and harassment gay kids will get on a daily basis for the rest of their lives as well is just disgusting. I've been fat before. I've already mentioned that, and I'm literally dating a man. So I can pretty well compare the two experiences. Um, I can safely say that being fat wasn't as scary as it is he's from Texas, just for some fun facts about me. He's from Texas, and so he has it's this fear instilled into him because he came from a place that's a lot more homophobic than it is where I live, than where we live now. Where we live now is a lot more progressive than where he's from, and I have to remind him that it's okay to hold hands, that we might get up the stairs, but it's going to be okay. And even then, I'm thinking, well, I hope so, because I don't want the off chance that's not okay, and then, traumatized for life. That's not something you worry about being fat. I never had to worry about being hate crime or being raped, right?
There you
I
go.
mean, I would get worried about people staring at me, but the thought of how this person might come up to me and touch me in the face because I'm like a size 20. There are still pew-pews, and because of the word, there are still pew-pews in America, where I live, which is why I'm birds in America a lot, that happen at gay clubs. Like, I know I laughed when I was reading this because at first it's just so ridiculous and it's funny, but to think that somebody can see things like the pew-pew that happened in Orlando or the one that happened in Colorado and still think they can compare that to, I don't know, like getting called a whale on the street, getting called like a fatty in the comment of like Instagram. That is just amazing. That is just spectacular. And this isn't even about like oppression Olympics. This isn't about who has it worse, right? It's just about common sense and decency. Because when you start to compare these two very different things, it does end up watering down one of them. And one of those things should not be watered down. I'm trying not to curse because I want this to be monetized because I want to at least make some money for having to go through reading this. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so in this screenshot of a news article, and the title of it is, quote, Nintendo's big Mario Kart ride at Universal can only be ridden by thin people, end quote. And then the description is, Universal Studios Hollywood and this ride bars its hippies with a waistline of over 40 inches. Now, I don't have the tape measure handy with me. I'm not very good at visualizing numbers, measurements, whatever. But I'm pretty sure a 40-inch waist isn't isn't thin. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it isn't. So if you're somebody whose life goal it is to ride the big Mario Kart ride at Universal Studios, if that's vital to your existence, I guess you're gonna have to lose weight if you're above 40 inches in waist size. I'm very sorry to deliver this devastating news to you. So here we have a screenshot in an Instagram comment section, and I don't have the Instagram post it was under, but given the context from reading this, I did give this one a read before I hit record because it's a lot of words. It's a post from a podcast. And the commenter says, quote, many fat activists and others consider the word obesity to be a slur, something to consider, end quote. And then the podcast replied, quote, we discussed that in detail on the podcast, end quote. And then the commenter, the upset one, replied, quote, but continue to use the word in obesity. I mean absolutely no disrespect, but I'm simply no longer interested in the opinions of white practitioners on this topic. Would like to see you in conversation with Black and Indigenous experts in the field. White supremacist, anti-fat bias medicine is the foundation of the dominant conversations around weight and health. It's giving eugenicist vibes for me, end quote. I never want to have to read the words eugenicist vibes ever again. Okay, so this person thinks obesity is a slur, which it just isn't. It isn't. I'm actually going to do a video on that specifically, most likely uh, at some point, because this is like actually a pretty popular belief within the science community that obesity is a slur, even though it's just like a medical term. But again, I'll make a different video about that. Let's just get right down to it. Let's cut the BS. This person is upset because the podcaster, I'm assuming from this person's comment, is a white doctor. Okay? And they believe that this white doctor has different information than a black doctor or an indigenous doctor would. And I just want to know what college they think separates people by race and teaches them different things. Because as far as I know, that's not legal. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not legal. I think we would hear about that, at least in America. I don't think that's legal to be separating people by race and telling them different facts about science. I don't believe that the white doctor is getting different information from a professor of any race than the fellow student who is black or indigenous is, as they are likely sitting in the exact same classroom, listening to the exact same lecture, taking the exact same notes, and reading the exact same textbook. And if this was just a conversation about racism in the medical field, which is a very real thing that needs to be talked about, then I wouldn't be, voicing any opinion on this, right? I'm all in support for discussing racism in the medical field, but that's not what this is about. The science of medicine, the science of just science, makes it clear that obesity is a health issue. It doesn't matter the skin color of who it's coming from, the science speaks for itself. Science doesn't have a race, it doesn't have a skin color, it speaks for itself. So to say that a scientific fact is white supremacy and anti-fat is just ridiculous. Discussing obesity or the prevention of obesity is not eugenics, and it's not white supremacy. There are plenty of doctors who are not white who discuss dangers of obesity. The most famous one, probably the most famous obesity doctor in the world, Dr. Nazardin, is not white, and I think he could give you a great lecture on the dangers of obesity and why it isn't a slur to say the word obesity. I will end this slur conversation there until my future video on the topic. This is a tweet and it says, quote, how do I tell my doctor pre-diabetes? It's just back with the bullshit, quote. So the way I would go about this is to go get a medical degree and then go back to your doctor and have a discussion about it. I think the best way to learn about pre-diabetes, right, is to just go through medical school. If you want to just prove its existence, that it's just back to the bullshit, go through medical school. I think that's it. That's what I would recommend. So the last post of today is another infographic, probably from Instagram, and it says, quote, you call it a lifestyle change, but are you really going to water food and exercise in an app for the rest of your life? End quote. So I'm assuming that this is referring to things like MyFitnessPal, apps that help you track your diet and exercise. And this person told me that doesn't find that it's a lifestyle change because
Calf raises.
are you
Next is
realistically
side
going to be using
lunges.
fitness pal
After
for the rest of
2
your
minute
life? So I think this person isn't aware how tools work. Apps like MyFitnessPal are a tool. Okay, so if you are somebody who struggles with chronic overeating or undereating, you need to learn, right, what the normal amount of food is for your body and the weight that is healthiest for you. That's something you need to learn. Tracking it is a great way to find out what works best for you. Being able to count your food, count your calories, your macros, your nutrients, whatever. If you are somebody who is pretty unaware of how well we eat, that is a great way to figure out. And through doing this tracking, you eventually are able to know just from your eyes and experience how to eat, how much calories is in a certain thing, what a normal portion size is for you, how much exercise is enough for you, etc., etc. You can start to build a routine that doesn't require constant tracking. This same thing can be applied to really anything. Uh, Learning something in order to improve your lifestyle can include tools that you use for a short-term period. To imply that's not a real or like healthy lifestyle change because you might have to track stuff for a while is wild. I am ending it there, folks. That was quite the ride. I hope you enjoyed it. It's definitely, hopefully, gonna be this longer than my last Fat video because I got a lot of comments requesting for it to be longer. So I hope this was longer. It being unscripted should have helped with the length of it. Thank you so much for stopping by the ranch. Let me know your thoughts on whatever post that interested you the most, whichever was craziest to you. You can comment below. You can message me on Instagram or Twitter, which the links to that are in the description. If you have any requests or any personal stories, I will be doing a Dubai acceptance experience story video soon. I will have a regular scripted video out this week, and then we'll be doing a live stream again Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I really enjoyed having you all stop by last time, so if you can make it, definitely would love to have you stop by again. We will be discussing the fifth episode of my 600 Life, along with other things. We tend to get off topic. So, thanks again for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all in the next one.
Okay, here we go.
People, the algorithm, dog. I just don't want to lose weight. Well, you can. I'm not, I don't care. I just think that, like, if I get to be 600 pounds, then maybe I can just go on the show. Scary.
Am I scary?
No, someone just said my exact location.
No way. They just said you're from Texas.
What the? What the?
How'd they know that?
I don't know.
Oh my god. It must be because of the fucking sign that says Texas behind your head.
It doesn't though.
Yeah, no shit, it doesn't.
What do you mean?
Oh my god, you're something else.
I'm kind of freaked out. Someone's stupid. No.
Two down, two to go. Three down, one to go. Say one time, I might just go right into goblet squats. It's a little easier.
Mix and match from Domino's, you can get more than just your favorite pizza. You can get specialty chicken, savory pop.
One day, I found Tess Holiday, and Tess Holiday looked amazing. People, people like her are really, really changing society, and I want to be like her.
The way she loves herself and her body and doesn't care what anyone says about it. And she inspires me, she motivates me.
She had like all this makeup done, and her hair was pretty, and like she looked so glamorous. I wanted to be like Tess Holiday.
The Health at Every Size movement, or HAES, has been around for a long time, but has exploded in popularity over the last few years, with more and more social media posts such as these every day. It's not the fat that kills us, it's the fat hatred. Health status is not defined by weight, so weight loss programs are about aesthetics. Your weight is not the problem, food is not the problem, diet culture is the problem. I don't have an eating problem, I have a fat phobia problem. Or my personal favorite, BMI is government propaganda. At the most extreme end, Health at Every Size supporters and fat activists argue that obesity is not dangerous and that bodies naturally come in all shapes and sizes, all the way up to 600 pounds, or what would be called infinity fat, according to them. Some even call the obesity epidemic a myth. They say it doesn't kill people or cause disease.
We hear in the news all the time about an obesity epidemic and how people are dying of obesity. And what we see is that it's just not true.
According to them, the diseases we often attribute to obesity, such as diabetes and hypertension, are the result of weight stigma, the psychological pressure of living in a society that mistreats fat people, and not due to the excess weight itself. Many HAES supporters go as far as to say that the war on obesity is a form of eugenics, and gastric bypass is, quote, voluntary amputation. And they're campaigning to have the word stricken from the medical literature and classified as hate speech. At this point, you might be saying to yourself, how is it possible that something so preposterous has become almost mainstream? And surprisingly, the answer seems to be Tess Holliday. Today, we'll be discussing Tess Holliday, the biggest and most dangerous lie of Health at Every Size, namely that morbid obesity can be considered healthy, and the research or lack thereof that's used to support these. I hope you guys enjoyed my double intro. This video actually started off as a way more casual video, but the more I read and the more I saw, the more I was like, nope, I'm gonna drop everything and make this gigantic video about Tess Holliday and Health at Every Size. I've labeled everything with timestamps, so if you want to hop around or rewatch stuff, it should be pretty easy to do so. We're gonna get into a lot of stuff today, but before we do, I should say a few disclaimers up front. Throughout this video, I'm going to be using the terms fat activist, Health at Every Size supporter, and body positivity person to mean the same thing. There is a distinction between these groups, and they're not all, harmful. But that line is very blurry online, so I'm going to be using them interchangeably during the video. I also want to say that there are definitely people practicing Health at Every Size a lot more reasonably than the depiction you're about to see here. I went into this video thinking that HAES was going to be a lot more reasonable than I've seen it portrayed by the extremists online. But I actually ended up leaving it thinking that it was even more harmful than I thought. And you guys are going to see why today. All right, let's get started. Tess Holliday made waves in 2015 as the first size 22 model to be signed to a major agency.
It's something I wanted to do my whole life, and everyone always told me I would never be able to do it. They laughed at me, they made fun of me, and I don't know if it was like delusion, but it just was like, I'm gonna try.
Since then, she's been called the world's biggest supermodel, worked with big brands like H&M and Benefit Cosmetics, and named one of the most influential people on the internet by Time magazine. And by 2018, she had already landed the now infamous cover of Cosmo UK.
Did you see the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine that was widely criticized because they had a morbidly obese woman on?
Many people say they love the body positive move made by Cosmo UK. Others say Tess Holliday is an unhealthy representation.
You are celebrating. You are celebrating morbid obesity.
I am not celebrating
That's what you're
morbid
doing.
obesity.
You want-
This cover, this is one cover which has a larger lady on the cover in a sea, in a world, in a culture which has venerated, since I can remember, thinness.
Seeing someone like me on the cover of like a glossy magazine shouldn't be top news.
They're hailing her as brave. I mean, what's brave about, eating ice cream?
She's literally morbidly obese. She's fucking dying. She's addicted to food in a horrible way. And to promote that and pretend that somehow or another this is okay. Louis T. Johnson.
It seems to fire up your brain at a higher RPM level or give you some clarity.
I'm really into trying not to consume caffeine right away in the morning. Having the alpha brain really helps me feel like awake and kind of ready for the day.
Hey, it's me, your skin. Some cleansers get us clean, but take my moisture. CeraVe cleansers help me maintain my moisture balance with hyaluronic acid plus 3 essential ceramides to help restore my natural barrier. So we're CeraVe clean. CeraVe hydrating cleanser.
To promote that and pretend that somehow or another this is okay.
Clearly, there were some mixed reactions. Some people saw Tess's cover as a special moment for body positivity, while others went as far as to say it was glorifying obesity. The term glorifying obesity is thrown around a lot these days, and not always appropriately.
When 1/3 of Ashley Graham was featured on the cover of Vogue, glorifying obesity. When Nike rolled out a plus-size mannequin so fat people could exercise, glorifying obesity. When Mattel offered up a curvy Barbie, size 8, US medium, glorifying obesity. Every plus-size girl dancing around on TikTok, glorifying obesity. As you can see, there is quite the range here. And there is a distinction between being fat and living your life and pretending that obesity is no big deal. Except that in Tess' case, it kind of actually was glorifying obesity for real this time. At 5'5" and over 300 pounds, Tess Holliday is by far the biggest model to have ever graced the cover of a major magazine.
I've thought about this a lot, and I don't know that it's fair to say that Tess's cover is problematic in of itself. After all, having a particularly admirable or healthy lifestyle hasn't exactly ever been a prerequisite to be a model or celebrity. And in many ways, if you think about it, unhealthy lifestyles have been glamorized forever at this point. Now, is that a good thing? No, none of this is good. But I think to be disproportionately offended because an obese woman is on the cover of a magazine is, I think, unfair.
And actually, Tess had already been on the cover of People magazine in 2015, which by readership is 5 times larger than Cosmo UK, without nearly the same level of controversy. The difference in outrage seems to stem from the fact that Cosmo felt the need to devote an entire page to declaring that Tess was strong, fit, and 300 pounds. And most of the discussion revolved around her excellent health and workout regime, as opposed to her fight for body positivity and self-love.
You know, we've been putting this off for a little bit, and now it's time to talk.
My goals are just to feel better and be stronger, and also show people that fat girls work out.
Showing people that fat girls work out is a big thing for Tess. She chose a famous personal trainer. They both made announcements about it on their Instagram accounts. They shot multiple videos while they were together, and they even shot that People TV segment in just a few short months that they were working together. Now, Tess has a running sponsorship with Fabletics, and since that time, I haven't seen any videos of her working out. So I guess the photo shoots in athletic clothes are meeting her quota for showing people that fat girls work out, because she has totally stopped with that. All in all, it just feels very contrived to me. I feel like it's one thing for Tess Holliday to be on the cover of a magazine for any reason, because she validates plus-size women, because she's popular, because you already be controversial to sell more magazines, whatever. But something completely different when Cosmo takes a stand to validate Tess's delusion that she's healthy to millions of people, and then goes as far as to shove it down our throats with 3 pages about her workout regime, as opposed to making the article literally about anything else.
The problem with this is Cosmo just put mainstream media's stamp of approval on one of the most heinous lies upheld at every side. The preposterous untruth that morbid obesity can be considered healthy.
And what about your own health test? Do you ever, because we had a report very recently in this country saying it's a myth that you can be very overweight, obese, and be healthy. So do you worry about your weight, but young children, about your health?
Look, I would not go through having kids and what it does to your body to not be around for them. You know what I mean? I know that I'm healthy.
Being a healthy, extremely obese person is an oxymoron, point blank. And it is extremely dangerous to suggest otherwise on talk shows and the front of magazines. So this was a caption from one of Tess's Instagram posts, which has since been removed but was cataloged on a website. To say and actually believe things like, if you're fat, you're automatically unhealthy, is wildly inaccurate. You can absolutely be overweight and be healthy. I know, because I am not, in fact, over 7 feet tall to balance out my weight. So according to my BMI, I'm obese, which is hilarious to me. Not because I think being unhealthy is funny, but because I'm healthy. Extremely so, in fact. I'm able to keep up with my children perfectly. So Tess is saying a lot in that statement. First off, most notable being that she's not obese. You don't really just get to opt out of being obese unless, there's an issue with BMI and they're not meant to be in that category, which would not apply to this level of obesity. Or you go and have your fat scan and you find out that you're actually carrying 200 pounds of muscle. Being able to do essential life tasks, such as watching after your children or stand on your feet all day to do your job, does not prove that you are extremely healthy. Now, there's enough data to suggest that you can indeed be overweight and be healthy. But to be fair, there is also data suggesting that no, people are healthiest within the normal BMI range, and beyond that, you're less healthy. You can make a compelling argument with the data that's out there for either one. But that is not what we're talking about here. There are no doctors that I've seen arguing that you can be this obese and be healthy. This is the equivalent of someone who's like a high-functioning alcoholic or a chain smoker saying that because they don't have any issues right now, because they don't have a disease right now, that they're healthy. Well, no, you have an addiction. And by Cosmo validating this, by acting like, oh, Tess, she lives a healthy lifestyle, she's just big, it plays into the health at every size narrative that you can be this big and it's not suggestive of you living in a healthy lifestyle or having a problem with food. You're just born that way, you're just built like that. And unfortunately, Cosmo is not the only one validating Tess's delusions to millions of people. There seems to be this budding corporate trend of discussing health as if it just involves declaring, I am healthy, as opposed to being defined by actively living a healthy lifestyle and not engaging in destructive behavior.
Prior to this cover, Tess was actually featured on the front of Self, an actual health magazine, or at least it was a health magazine. I don't know what you would call it today. And Health magazine has featured many fat activists as of late, including Virgie Tovar, which, if you've seen my video on her, you'll know her definition of health is a little out there.
Actually, Virgie recently also said, there is no such thing as individual health. So there you have it. In the land of body positivity, health is so subjective that it basically doesn't even exist. And the corporate world is so desperate to cash in on people's insecurities that they're willing to put feelings over facts and people's health at risk in order to pander. In my opinion, though, one of the most empowering discoveries over the last however many years is just how big of an impact our decisions, our actions can have on our, what's called our health span, which is essentially the amount of years we live in our lives in good health, free from the chronic diseases that come with aging. And is that not extremely encouraging to the general public? Why would we ever downplay that to any degree at all? This is, as far as I can tell, the definition of glorifying obesity, obscuring the truest reality of the disease of obesity and pretending that it is somehow not a big deal. And although this hypothesis is still unsupported by current research, moments like these are huge for movements like Health at Every Size.
And why many of Tess's obese followers believe that Tess is healthy, and therefore they're healthy too. It's also why people suddenly feel confident saying things like this.
Can this person go back to school, please? Or go do some research and not be a fucking idiot? Fat does not equal unhealthy. Get your info straight before you hop on the internet and be an idiot.
Now, fat might not equal unhealthy, but being very obese certainly does. So before we discuss the science that fat activists use to support their claims, let's talk a little bit about the cold, hard, and unglamorous reality of obesity.
Whatever you do, you only do because God allows it. You allow that.
Father Gabriel Amor. On the night of June 4th, you performed an exorcism.
That was not an exorcism. The majority of cases do not require an exorcism. 98% are recommended by him to doctors and psychiatrists. The other 2%, I call it evil.
We have more questions for you, Father Roy.
You have a problem with me? You talk to my boss, the Pope. There's a case that needs your attention. Bring up praise. We have to have two. Right. They call him a secret experience.
The inconvenient truth in this instance is that at 5'3" and over 300 pounds, Tess Holliday has a BMI of at least 49 and would be considered to have the most extreme form of obesity, class 3, formerly known as morbidly obese. At this size, Tess is at risk for over 200 different diseases. And much to the chagrin of the politically correct, obesity itself is classified as a disease, because it is not only an underpinning of major chronic diseases, but a serious debilitating condition in its own right. So how is obesity a debilitating condition in its own right? Two of the biggest reasons for this are 1, dangerous visceral fat, and 2, mechanical issues stemming from extra weight. Also, you guys totally lucked out because I was planning on showing you these really, really gross anatomy videos of visceral fat, but I found out it's against the community guidelines. So if you want to see them, you can look them up. They're on YouTube. They're super gross though, so be warned. Visceral fat is commonly referred to as belly fat, but specifically refers to the fat wrapped around your internal organs. We all have and need visceral fat, but too much visceral fat leaks excess hormones and inflammatory molecules into your bloodstream, putting your body into a chronic inflammatory state, which results in DNA damage and majorly ups your risk for a ton of different diseases and cancers. Mechanical issues. The most obvious and observable reason that obesity is horrendous for your body is simple. All that extra body weight is heavy. Our bodies were not designed to carry an excess 100, 200, 300 pounds. And lugging this weight around has serious and unavoidable consequences. Extra weight wears down the cartilage in the knees and joints prematurely. The damage increases exponentially as weight is gained because your joints not only have to deal with the extra pressure, but the increase of force during movement. According to Harvard Medical School, when you walk across level ground, the force on your knees is the equivalent of 1.5 times your body weight. That means Tess, at 300 plus pounds, is putting 450 pounds of pressure on her knees with each step, while someone at 150 pounds is only putting about 225 pounds of pressure per step. This is why it's very dangerous for very obese people to exercise.
At some point in time, if she keeps up this type of training, Tess Holliday will most likely suffer an injury to her ankle, her lower back, or her knees.
As you continue to go up in weight, that pressure just continues to compound. Every minute you spend at that size, you're needlessly harming your body. This alone for me is enough to declare health at every size a myth. I could go on forever about the consequences of obesity, but there are decades of research and proof to support this already. It is very obvious that your weight may indeed disqualify you from the healthy category. Anyway, now that we've gone over that, let's get back to Tess and how she became the gateway drug to health at every size. Many plus-size women have felt held back or defined by society's often unfair depictions of bigger women.
Phillies! Phillies! Yay!
So why it may seem that Tess Holliday was famous in spite of her weight, in reality, she's become so successful because of her weight.
As far as famous plus-size models go, Ashley Graham came before her, but Ashley Graham still looks exactly like a typical model. With the classic 0.7 waist-to-hip ratio, a big butt and boob, and no visible lumps, smooth, shiny, tight skin. Basically, her body still looks like a typical model's body. Even with Cosmo's best efforts, however, Tessa's body doesn't. Tess is lumpy. Tess has a lot of cellulite. She has back fat, underarm flaps, and ample body rolls. Tess, in some ways, then, is more like the average plus-size woman than any other cover model to come before her.
It's amazing to have a role model like Tess and actually see someone who actually looks like me, owning their sexiness and owning their curves and being someone that I can actually relate to in the mainstream media.
And this common ground makes her incredibly influential.
Why hate yourself and why deprive yourself of having the most beautiful life possible because you happen to be fat or you happen to be a different color or you happen to be whatever's holding you back. Like, life's too fucking short for that shit.
These women see Tess being celebrated for her beauty and think, I can be beautiful too. The Ector Beauty Standards hashtag she started has grown to over 4.5 million reposts of women declaring that they find themselves beautiful, regardless of what you or society thinks. And they're looking to Tess for inspiration and as a role model, even going as far as to idolize her in some instances.
When I was in high school and I got an Instagram, one of the very first people I followed was the great Tess Holliday. People like Tess Holliday give me and so many other women confidence.
I had never seen someone who looked like me at the time, who had the same kind of body as me, rocking it. Honestly, like I had not seen that before.
And she showed me how to love my body. She showed me how to love every curve, every lump, every bump, and just to be happy in the body that I'm in.
Yeah, she's like an icon, a pioneer of plus size. Oh, I'm very proud of her. I don't know her or anything like that, but I feel like I do because I can relate to her so strongly. I still have the People's Magazine from whenever she was on the cover. That was a historic moment for me. I kept it and I've saved all these years.
I had never felt so excited and so accepted.
This emotional connection to Tess on such a sensitive and personal topic means that these women are very receptive to things that Tess has to say, which would be all fine and well if Tess limited the conversation to beauty standards and body positivity, but as we've seen, she just doesn't.
I always mention my success, but then it would always be followed with, well, she's unhealthy or this, so, right. Which I'm not.
She's constantly reaffirming to everyone that she's healthy, and anyone who says otherwise is just fat phobic. So when these women come to Tess seeking inspiration and feel more body positive, they're also receiving a dose of
push-pull legs is done.
Because of this, Tess Holliday, as the most famous body positive influencer, as well as other Vogue influencers, have become the gateway drug to health every size.
Bonus.
Where you go looking for one, you often find the other. Now, to really understand what I mean by this, it's important to take a look back at the origins of health at every size and how we got here.
Moderate to severe ulcerative colitis persists. Put it in check with Rinvoq, a once daily pill.
When UC got unpredictable, I got rapid symptom relief with Rinvoq. Check.
When UC held me back, I got lasting steroid-free remission with Rinvoq. Check.
And when UC got the upper hand, Rinvoq helped physically repair the colon lining.
Check. Rapid symptom relief, lasting steroid-free remission, and a chance to physically repair the colon lining. Check, check, and check.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB, serious infections and blood clots, some fatal, cancers, including lymphoma and skin cancer, death, heart attack, stroke, and tears in the stomach or intestines occur. People 50 and older with at least one heart disease risk factor have higher risks. Don't take a allergic to Rinvoq, as serious reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
2023. All Derby, all year long.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq and learn how AbbVie could help you save.